hate me, don't you?
Tune in to Kons podcast.
You hate me, don't you? 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 You hate me, don't you?
Wiz Khalifa has been sentenced to 9 months out in Romania for firing up on stage at what he called the Beach Please Festival tour he was on. Epstein files, you know what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people have been talking about these Epstein files. Epstein files have been released, but heavily redacted. It was so much that is blacked out. And this is some of the things that he had found. They had found a incinerator, what they call, aka a burn cage, in his house. The investigator was hired for the house. But yeah, so Anthony Joshua fought Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua knocked Jake Paul out in the 6th round. You know what I mean? Over the weekend, Jake Paul was falling as the round starts, so they could start calling people to the stand. You know what I mean? They could start. The grand jury has took the case over, so now people can start being called to the stand to come and testify. Yeah. What is going on? You know what I mean? What's happening? What is happening? It is a good Monday. You feel me? December 22nd. It is 1:09 p.m. in the afternoon. You know what I mean? It's 1:09 p.m. in the afternoon. December 22nd. You know what I mean? On this good Monday. You know what I'm saying? How everybody is doing. Starting y'all Monday off. Hope y'all starting y'all Monday off cool. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all starting y'all Monday off not too chaotic, not too much of the Monday blues. You know what I mean? Being that we all are coming off the weekend. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I hope everybody's doing cool though. You know what I mean? This is going to be episode 343 today. You know what I mean? I got a few topics. You know what I'm saying? We know how Mondays go. We don't need to go over the recap of last episode. You know what I mean? I last recorded, I believe it was Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? And I took Thursday and Friday off. Had to attend my sister's funeral, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's why I took it off. That's what I was doing over the weekend, you know what I'm saying? So, family is in a bit of a mourning right now, you know what I mean? And she wasn't the only death in the family, you know what I'm saying? So, it's definitely a lot going on. But yeah, these topics though today though, you know what I mean? I got 4 topics for you today. You know what I'm saying? We're going to touch on Wiz Khalifa, how he was arrested in Romania. Probably ain't going to do no time. We also going to touch on these Epstein files, how they been released, heavily redacted. Bunch of names is blacked out and this and that. And who was a picture that was just released on who was tied to Epstein. It surprised me. We're going to touch on that. And also some new David information, you know what I'm saying? With David and Celeste Rivas. I told y'all I'm going to be following that. So I got some new info on that as well. And I'm definitely going to touch on the Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua fight that happened over the weekend. You know what I'm saying? That's the 4 topics we'll be covering today. So yeah, I hope everybody's doing cool though. Like I said, it's a good Monday, good cloudy and foggy, overcast, gray clouds, foggy, raining, you know what I'm saying? Off and on, showers, drizzling off and on, whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? We definitely are in that winter stage of the weather, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I hope we are ready for this episode on this good Monday. On this good Monday, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a good Monday though, you know what I mean? Overcast, you know what I'm saying? Definitely been cold, you feel me? But without no more further ado, without no more chit chat, banter, you know what I mean? Let's jump right into these topics, you feel me? So Wiz Khalifa has been sentenced to 9 months out in Romania for firing up on stage at what he called the Beach Please Festival tour he was on. Wiz and his team filed an appeal to it. He said the Romanian police was cool and they let him go, and he admitted to lighting up on stage in Romania, but this happened in July of last year. He had about 18 grams of tree on him. They said he sent a message to young kids that is normal, and they don't like that out there in Romania, you know what I'm saying? Wiz said he didn't even mean to offend the country, and he'll be back soon, but without the big ass joint, you know what I'm saying? So the next clip you're gonna see is a video. I got the video of police walking him out, and also somebody speaking on the sound like he from over there, judging by his accent. Check these clips out.
been sentenced to 9 months in Romanian prison for smoking loud on stage out there. Now, he did admit to lighting up during his performance at the Beach Please Festival last year in Constanța, and the Romanian court overturned his original fine for a possession charge and said he must serve the sentence in custody. They said, forget your money, bro, you need to come to jail out here. Now, he was sentenced in absentia, and earlier this week he was seen on stage performing with Gunna in California, and he was also seen doing some live streams. But police held and questioned him after the concert on the 13th of July 2024, and prosecutors later charged him with possession of loud for personal use. Now, he had more than 18 G's of loud on him, but that's not that much for someone like Wiz Khalifa. Now, they overturned the original fine because the artist had sent a message of normalization of illegal conduct and thereby encouraged this among young people. Now, Wiz Khalifa has responded, and he said he did not mean to offend the country. He said the authorities were very respectful and let him go, and he'll also be back soon, but without the loud next time. Now, a Romanian criminologist called Vlad Zaha has said there will be little to no chance of the US extraditing Wiz Khalifa, and described the sentence as unusually harsh, and it is highly unlikely that Wiz Khalifa will be sent to serve a prison sentence in Constanța, even though a formal judicial request will be submitted to the United States. Guys, what do you think about this situation? I know Wiz Khalifa's known for the loud, but you can't just go to countries and start smoking it wherever you want, bro. You can't do that in Dubai. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments.
That was Wiz Khalifa getting escorted out in Romania, getting escorted by police, you know what I'm saying, for firing up a big ass joint on stage, you know what I mean? Now, this is crazy, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these other countries, I don't know if these rappers forget this, you know what I'm saying, but ain't no other country is gonna be as lenient on marijuana as the United States are, you know what I mean? Every other country seems to prohibit hard on this drug, you know what I'm saying? They don't play around with it. I know for sure in Dubai, you know what I'm saying, you definitely can't have no weed out there, you know what I mean? They'll definitely jail you for whatever type of months. We looked at what's her name, Brittany Reiner, the WNBA star, you know what I'm saying, who got caught with the weed pen out over in Russia, you feel me? And they tried to give her, 9 months or something like that if the United States hadn't intervened with that, you know what I mean? They was trying to give her almost a year for a weed pen, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of other countries that don't really tolerate this marijuana that we all freely use in here in the United States, you know what I mean? We all definitely freely use marijuana in the United States, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of other countries definitely just don't mess with it, you know what I mean? Trump, in other news, Trump also just recently signed that he is declassifying it, you know what I'm saying? It's moving from a class 1 to a class 3, you know what I mean? I believe that's what it is, or it's the other way around, class 3 to class 1. I can't remember right now. Got to check my emails. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Basically, he's moving it to a class where it's not in the same class as heroin, crack, cocaine. You know what I'm saying? They was trying to justify and put weed along the same lines as a heroin or a crack or a cocaine or any of them harder drugs. They was trying to say that marijuana was the same, but Trump has just signed off saying that that is not the case. You feel me? And it also opens up for more research to be done on THC and the product of cannabis itself. You know what I mean? But yeah, got to be careful when you're traveling. You know what I mean? You want these stores to travel overseas, go to these foreign countries. Got to be careful where you lighten up at, because a lot of these countries ain't going to tolerate marijuana as it is tolerated here in the States. Some states, that is. It ain't even tolerated in every state here. Epstein files. You know what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people have been talking about these Epstein files. Epstein files have been released, but heavily redacted. It is so much that is blacked out that you can't see. Names blacked out. Certain areas, times are blacked out. Situations are blacked out. A whole bunch of stuff is blacked out. There's even pages and pages of just a whole page. Every line is blacked out. You know what I mean? So yes, he released them, but now he released them heavily edited. You know what I'm saying? But in them files, we found pictures of Chris Tucker. Now this surprised me. You know what I mean? It was photos of him and one of the victims of Epstein. You know what I'm saying? On a South African trip. Also, the director of the Rush Hour movies, Brett Ratner, was also seen there along with Chris Tucker. You know what I'm saying? Brett claimed to have been, it was a claim from a woman that Brett was in the room with the victim was with Russell Simmons. The victim said that they were assaulted and also coerced into sex. This was in 91 by Russell Simmons. Chris Tucker was seen in this photo with a woman named Shantae Davis, who was one of Epstein's victims. Shantae was trying to model and was coerced in the Epstein circle by him using illusions and throwing his connections in her face and saying, I got tied to this, I can get you modeling and that. So he was pretty much selling her a dream, you know what I'm saying, to get her involved in his little connection, you know what I mean? He also claimed he knew the owner of Victoria's Secret and said that he can get her on, you know what I'm saying, with the modeling that she was trained to pursue, you know what I mean? This was a victim, though, of the little Epstein circle, you know what I'm saying? So in the next little clip you're going to see is Khadisha Lynn telling you more on this situation with Chris Tucker and the director of the Rush Hour movies and how his photo is in these Epstein files. Check it out.
Photos like this one coming out of Chris Tucker in the new Epstein files that were released to the public. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit shocked to see that they didn't include this photo that has been circulated of Chris Tucker with one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Now, Chris Tucker being mentioned in the Epstein files is honestly nothing new. We saw the flight logs years ago that had Chris Tucker's name alongside of Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, and Kevin Spacey. And there was also another victim of Epstein that came out and spoke about this specific Africa trip, and she was from Africa, and she was recruited into Jeffrey Epstein's orbit on this specific trip. And she claims that Jeffrey Epstein used his illusion of wealth and his connections to people like Chris Tucker, Kevin Spacey, and Bill Clinton in this trip to get her into his orbit. Important to know that none of these victims have ever publicly said that there was any wrongdoing by Chris Tucker, Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton, or anybody else, but we do know for a fact that they were victims of Epstein. Before we get into that survivor's statements about how she was lured into Jeffrey Epstein's orbit on that Africa trip, I do have to talk about the fact that we are seeing Brett Ratner, the director of the Rush Hour movies, also in this drop, in this picture with Jean-Luc Burnell. Yes, and Jean-Luc Burnell had his own allegations, and there's even proven facts out there in the Epstein files that were released way earlier that Jean-Luc Burnell was literally having young girls brought to Epstein. Like this, he has a teacher for you to teach you how to speak Russian. She is 2 times 8 years old, not blonde. And yes, Jean-Luc Burnell is also the one when all of his allegations came about and he was arrested. He was also found like Epstein in his jail cell. That's just the basic rundown of Jean-Luc Burnell. And even though this is completely new to see Brett Ratner connected in these Epstein files, his behavior is nothing new that we haven't heard before. There's a slew of allegations that came against him from multiple different women, and then Warner Brothers ended up terminating his contracts with them because of all of these different allegations. He was also accused by a woman of being present when she was being SA'd by Russell Simmons. His career was basically ruined after Warner Brothers refused to keep on working with him. But earlier this year, at Trump's request, they let Brett produce the new Rush Hour 4 that is coming out. Brett has been known to have a relationship for years with Donald Trump, and not only is he working on the new Rush Hour 4 movie because Donald Trump talked to Paramount to help get him to be able to direct Rush Hour 4, he is also the director on the new film about Melania Trump. Now that we got that weird connection out of the way, let's go ahead and jump back to this specific Africa trip. These allegations were actually put in a lawsuit by this survivor of Jeffrey Epstein. She is one that used her name and has spoke publicly about what happened during this Africa trip. She was born on July 23rd of 1982 in South Africa, and she was 20 years old and an inspiring model. She goes on to say that in 2002, Naja Hill, an American model, approached her in an attempt to befriend her. Hill asked her if she would like to meet Epstein, who she called the King of America, and described Epstein as a well-connected billionaire who could help her with her modeling career, and explained that he was visiting Africa with a former high U.S. government official, a famous actor, and a well-known comedian. We can considered meeting with Epstein because it was an amazing opportunity, because modeling in New York City has always been one of her biggest dreams. Hill brought her to a restaurant to meet Epstein, who at the time was with the former high U.S. government official, the famous actor, and a well-known comedian. She had never met a celebrity before, and she was invited to attend a speech from the former high U.S. government official that he was giving in Cape Town, Africa the next day. She was escorted to the speech by police cars with individuals associated with the former official. Epstein told her to bring her modeling portfolio to his hotel room for casting. Epstein then said that he owned a modeling agency and would get her an agent in New York City. And he also mentioned that he was good friends with Lex Wexner, who owned Victoria's Secret. Within a few days, Leslie Groff began calling her and told her that Epstein wanted to bring her to New York to model. And then she would go on to explain how she was abused for years by Jeffrey Epstein after meeting him in Africa. This victim that did this lawsuit was not the only victim connected to this Africa trip, because one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, Shantae Davis, was also on this Africa trip. She has talked about it publicly, and she is the one in this picture with Chris Tucker. Also have this other woman saying that she was recruited by Jeffrey Epstein's people on this trip, and he was using his connections to make her feel like he could give her opportunities. If you've been in the Epstein files for years, you know that this is his MO. He did this with all of his victims, even his child victims. Now, Shantae Davis and this woman were not underage at the time, but they are still victims. Like I have said from the very beginning of this, Jeffrey Epstein, yes, preferred children, but there are also very young women that he also made victims. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
You know what I'm saying? That was Chris Tucker in the photos with these white women by him, standing next to him, and Ghislaine Maxwell was also there. I don't know what type of business Chris Tucker was on. You know what I'm saying? Attending Epstein festivities or functions, whatever the case may be. I don't know what you were thinking when you decided to go and attend something tied about Epstein, that Epstein was throwing, hosting, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? We ain't shy of the news about Epstein and who he is. I'm sure you knew at the time, and you still went on this trip and took pictures with these white women that we see you in the pictures with. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know further details into that, but they did say, as you heard in the clip, that she came out and said that nothing was ever wrongfully done to the victim by Chris Tucker, or she named off some other celebrities that was involved with Epstein. You know what I mean? She said they didn't do nothing to her. You know what I'm saying? Now, these Epstein's files is wild, but we gave him too much time. What's up? What's happening? You feel me? This is just a quick little reminder to let you know, if you enjoying these clips and this news and these updates that I'm giving you on today's episode, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know what I mean? Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment on what you think about what I'm talking about, these headlines you hearing, the clips you hearing. Leave me a comment, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Hit the like button and share this out on all your social medias, to your homies, to your friends. Put it in your family little chats and all that. You know what I'm saying? Let everybody know about Kons podcast. You know what I mean? Let's get back to the episode. You know what I'm saying? We gave him too much time as far as people wanting to see him and wanting to know what was in him and all this and that. We gave him a whole bunch of time, so he had time to have editors or whatnot go through and take out whatever it is that he wanted to be taken out. And that's what we got with these files. You know what I'm saying? Nothing but redactedness in these files. 50-something pages, and probably about 10, 15 of them is full pages with no redactions. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. I think they were released a little too late, and he had a whole bunch of time to do whatever he wanted to do with them files as far as what info he did not want you knowing. You know what I'm saying? David, the student David case, new updates in this David case. You know what I'm saying? I told you I was going to keep you updated on this David case. David is the singer who, the TikTok star who Celeste Rivas, the girl that was 13, 14 years old, that was found chopped up in the front trunk of his Tesla. You know what I'm saying? So new updates have came through with that, and the investigator that was sent out to the house, that the house had sent, a homeowner had sent the private investigator out, and this is some of the things that he had found. They had found found a incinerator, what they call aka a burn cage in his house. The investigator was hired for the house. They said the burn cage can get up to 1,600 degrees as advertised on the box. They said cremation 1,400 is needed for cremating a body. So this definitely raises questions as to why it is at the residence, and it is in the Hollywood Hills. It's not on a farm or on anything of this nature, so they don't know why he would need a burn cage at his Hollywood Hills home. You know what I'm saying? Some could argue that this was a prop for a video or going to be used for something in the video, but it wasn't dropped off in no director's home or a set for a video or anything of that nature. You know what I'm saying? It was also delivered under a false name at that. You know what I'm saying? So the next clips that you're going to see is Jesse Weber from a show called Sidebar. He does a lot of law and crimes and a lot of cases that he covered on this channel. This is him speaking on the incinerator that they found at his home. Check it out.
To talk about. He just posted this on X. Quote, "Although my words have been misquoted by some, what I actually said about certain items found at the Doheny address was that they were, quote, items you would expect to find on a farm rather than in a home in the Hollywood Hills. One of those items was a burn cage incinerator, advertised to burn at 1,600 degrees. Human cremations are typically performed at approximately 1,400 degrees. An incinerator is not legal to use within city limits and serves no legitimate purpose at a residential property in the Hollywood Hills. Some will argue that this item was intended as a prop for a video. If that were the case, it raises several obvious questions. Why would a 55-pound bird cage be delivered to a private residence instead of directly to a prop designer or production house? Why would it be ordered before departing on an extended world tour? And why was it never used in any video production? It is also important to note that there were additional items present that could be used in conjunction with the burn cage. To be very clear, this burn cage was not used. It was still new and in the box. However, given that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's remains were ultimately found in the Tesla trunk, the presence of an incinerator at the same residence associated with that vehicle necessarily raises questions about intent. The burn cage was not taken during the search warrant, and because it was not used, it appears it's not of importance to any possible criminal investigation. But we think it's important context, even if not criminal. The burn cage and other related items were delivered to the residence under a false name, although the deliveries were accepted at the property. Attached is a photograph of the actual burn cage incinerator as found at the residence, along with an image from Dr. Burns' advertising materials for the product. Hashtag Celeste Rivas Hernandez, hashtag David. And he does include those photos, by the way.
As you've seen, you know what I'm saying, it was letting you know that they found this incinerator that's capable of cremating a body. You know what I'm saying? The questions are raised as to why you got this. What is going on? Why are you purchasing a incinerator, or aka they call it a burn cage? You know what I'm saying? That's capable of cremating the whole body. I think this was definitely going to be used for Celeste Rivas for sure. You know what I mean? Because if he would have got to cremating the body, then we would have no evidence. There wouldn't even be a case going on because everything would have been destroyed. I think he definitely purchased this to try to set that body aflame and cremate all evidence and turn her into dust. I think that's definitely what he was planning to do, and dispose of the dust, of the ashes. You know what I'm saying? I think that's definitely what he was planning to do here. You know what I mean? Because we don't even have a cause of death right now. You know what I'm saying? We just know she was cut up and found in the trunk. You know what I mean? We haven't got back nothing from the toxicology report or anything involving the body and cause of death. We don't know what the cause is yet. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's still kind of floating out there. You know what I mean? But yeah, everything is leading to this dude did it. You know what I'm saying? And then there's this new guy in the case, Neo the Asian. I guess apparently some type of boyfriend that he had. You know what I mean? That he was involved with. You know, so I don't know. But he's a new name that definitely came up. He's definitely involved with something. He knows something, you know what I mean? Because he was definitely close to David. You know what I mean? They got pictures, intimate pictures of them touching on each other or whatnot. This is why a lot of people are assuming that they have some type of gay relation. You know what I'm saying? But shit, man, everything is pointing to this dude did it. You know what I mean? Everything is pointing to this dude that he did it. I can't wait till the trial starts so they can start calling people to the stand. You know what I mean? They can start. The grand jury has took the case over, so now people can start being called to the stand to come and testify or come and say what they know. You know what I mean? Jake Paul, you know what I'm saying? Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua fought over the weekend, you know what I mean? Fought over the weekend on Netflix, you know what I'm saying? I definitely tuned in and watched it. They had some cool undercard fights. Alicia Bumgarner is a new female fighter under Jake's promotions, you know what I'm saying? And she did cool. She definitely whooped her opponent's ass for sure. She definitely did her thing in the ring. But yeah, so Anthony Joshua fought Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua knocked Jake Paul out in the 6th round, you know what I mean? Over the weekend, Jake Paul was falling at his own feet, falling on the ground several times off his own movements, even rolled an ankle during one of the falling theatrics that he was doing in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Jake pretty much ran the whole time until the 6th round when Joshua started to cut the ring off and eventually caught Jake and had him in the corner and delivered a beautiful 1-2 with the left jab, setting up the right straight that he threw at Jake Paul and dislocated and fractured his jaw in 2 different places. You know what I'm saying? This is why you don't play boxing, you feel me? But the next clips you're going to see is a news report on this and some highlights. I hope they let these highlights fly from the fight. Check it out.
Money grab, 100%. I'm not a YouTuber, a social media expert. I'm a fighter first and foremost, but I understood how to navigate my way through this industry.
What do you think about when you hear people say shit like that?
Neither the fuck am I. At the end of the day.
But hold on, Jake, real quick. A lot of people try to label you as that.
I'm an entrepreneur first. I'm a venture capitalist. I'm an influencer. I make Instagram posts. I'm a boxer. I don't take it as an insult because YouTubers make more money than boxers. Okay. So the fuck? I don't take it as an insult. It is what it is, but like YouTubers run the world. Look at Speed. Look at Mr. Beast.
Wait me, don't you?
You're touching my face, brother. Come on. Let's get this shit on, buddy. Let's go. Let's go. That's a beer. Beer. I can smell it. I can smell it.
Wait me, don't you?
Right uppercut. It's amazing that Paul is still standing.
He needs to continue to move to Jake Paul's right so he can try to land a right hand like that of his own. To grab him, hold, and clinch. Move the action back into the inside.
Exactly. Big jab. Paul jabbed to Joshua.
This is the fight Anthony Joshua didn't want to be in.
Seems like he's looking for a few more.
There's a right hand, left hand that lands for Jake Paul. The jab lands again for Paul.
It really is.
Oh, the uppercut, and he took it. Jake Paul took it. Jake Paul cornered. Paul's hands are down. Paul unwinds and catapult right hand to the left by Paul. Paul looking to make it a fight now.
Down to the body with the right hand for Anthony Joshua. There's a big left now.
Text messages are lighting up. Everyone wondering what the hell is happening. There's the right hand. Jake Paul goes down again. Second knockdown. Being measured up by Joshua for that right hand. Gets flipped again. Another right. Another left. And the bell goes to end the 5th. He's breathing heavily and he's cornered again by Joshua. Down Paul goes again. And he's tired.
He needs to keep moving them feet like he was in the early rounds, but it's hard to do that.
Right uppercut. It's amazing that Paul is still standing. And it almost, there's a left hook. Oh, another right hand. Down goes Paul.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Wait me, don't you?
And his chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake
Wait me,
Paul.
don't you? Wait me, don't you? Wait me, don't
That was Jake Paul, you know what I mean, and Anthony Joshua, some of the highlights. I hope they let them highlights fly, you know what I'm saying? It was on Netflix. I don't know how that works, but it's a more open network than like a pay-per-view or something like that. Usually you want you to wait whatever time before you show clips, but this is clipped up. Everybody has clipped this up, so hopefully they can let these clips fly and you can see some highlights from this fight. If you don't, it's definitely on Netflix, you know what I'm saying? Just because it was a live thing don't mean that they took it off after the live. It's definitely still on there for anybody that want to go and watch the fight, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, he definitely knocked him out in the 6th round. Mind you, Jake Paul came out with Tekashi 6-9. You feel me? Now, I ain't gonna hold you. Tekashi definitely had the building turned up. Everybody was turning up when he came out rapping his song, whatever song that he rapped. I can't tell you 2 seconds of no Tekashi 6ix9ine song. I don't listen to dude music, but he came out and was rapping his song, whatever song he was rapping. The whole building was turning up to it, and everybody was hyped when 6ix9ine came out with Jake Paul. You know what I'm saying? Now, the boxing side, you know what I mean? I'm definitely satisfied to see Jake Paul get his jaw cracked. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that he is definitely disrespecting boxing, you know what I mean, by picking and choosing different fighters based off the amount of money that he gonna pay for them, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of pride and culture and deep rootedness in boxing, you know what I'm saying? It ain't just all about making the dollar, you know what I mean? Being that that's definitely what he has made his boxing career based on, but that's not what a lot of boxers base their career on, is the power of that dollar, you know what I mean? A lot of boxers have a passion for this sport, you know what I mean? A lot of boxers are tied into this sport by doing it all their life. A lot of boxers been fighting since they were children, 5, 6, 7 years old, 9, 10, 11 years old. They've been boxing since then, trying to climb the ranks, trying to get in the ring and be able to be blessed to be in the ring with someone of the legendary calibers that Jake Paul has stepped in the ring with, you know what I'm saying? But this is dope to see because it definitely, I feel like it exposed Jake Paul that he's not actually a boxer, you know what I'm saying? He definitely stepped into boxing arenas. He definitely stepped in the boxing light and the boxing lifestyle for sure, you know what I'm saying? But you can't play boxing, and I feel like he's been playing around with the sport. This beautiful sport, this beautiful science that we all, well, not all, but those of you who have boxed, who got some training, this beautiful science that we call boxing in that ring. It's such a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful science, beautiful technique, everything about it. It is a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? Setting up angles, throwing jabs, throwing hooks, 1-2s, 1-2-3s, 3-4s, footwork, ducking under jabs, slipping punches, and the whole 9 yards. It is something beautiful that we all have a passion for. So it's annoying seeing somebody like Jake Paul just pave his way in this boxing field, this boxing lane, by using money. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people were saying that, oh, your fight is rigged, your fight is rigged. So I think that he definitely did not manipulate this contract. I think this contract flew as to what it is as a regular fight. You know what I'm saying? I think he had no manipulations involved. I think a lot of people were starting to say that his boxing shows fights was rigged. So when he posted himself getting knocked out by Joshua and he put the caption rigged with a question mark, that definitely made me raise an eyebrow as to say, like, you know what I'm saying? Since a lot of people, this is my theory. I think since a lot of people were saying that his fights was rigged, I think that this was the one that he did not rig up and he did not manipulate the contract because everybody was saying that, oh man, your fights is rigged. You know what I mean? So I think everything was let fly on this contract and this fight with Anthony Joshua, you know what I'm saying? And he really boxed him, you know what I mean? It wasn't no paid to take a fall, no paid for a knockout, no paid for don't hurt me clauses, whatever the case may be. Who knows what's in his contracts that he manipulated, you know what I'm saying? But I think this was a raw fight. I think Anthony Joshua went in there with bad intentions. I think he definitely wanted to knock Jake Paul out regardless of what a script might have said, what he might have got paid for, whatever the case may be. I think he definitely went in there and boxed him. And he showed the world, you know what I'm saying, that I think Anthony Joshua realized super early that, yo, this dude can't box. You know what I'm saying? He's not a boxer. I see who I'm fighting, who I'm in the ring with. He's running from me because he wasn't even setting nothing up. Anthony Joshua was going for the gusto, swinging for the head, trying to knock his head off in the second round. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I think in his mind, he's like, yeah, this kid is playing around with the sport, and I'm finna show him that you don't play around with this sport. And I think that's in his mindset. I think that's where his mindset was when he knocked Jake Paul out. You know what I mean? You can't play boxing. You know what I'm saying? That is a saying that is a real saying. You can't play around with this. You can end up severely hurt or in a hospital, or permanent damage could be done. You know what I'm saying? It's not a smart move to play around with this sport. It is definitely lethal for sure. You know what I'm saying? But I was definitely satisfied seeing Jake Paul get his jaw broke. I ain't gonna hold you, you know what I mean? Shout out to Anthony Joshua for knocking him out, you know what I'm saying, in the 6th round, you feel me? He was backpedaling, running the whole time, you know what I'm saying? So, and then falling on himself, kept falling. I've seen Jake Paul duck under a punch and throw himself off balance from his own dodge of a punch. How do you duck under something and throw yourself off balance, you know what I mean? That means you don't have enough ring experience, you know what I'm saying, to even be in the ring with Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? Tank Davis would have destroyed you for sure. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. The IQ just ain't there. And you definitely showed that Friday night that your boxing IQ is not up to par. You know what I mean? To come across and fight somebody who is really boxing, and that's not 60 years old, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know what I'm saying, I definitely enjoyed it, you know what I'm saying? Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, you know what I mean? That was definitely entertaining, you know what I'm saying? To say the least. But yeah, you know what I mean? That's all I got for today, you know what I mean? That's all I got for today, you know what I mean? Episode 343, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all I got for today, you know what I mean? In case you might have missed something, you know what I mean? In case you had to get up, you go break up a fight with your kids, they was fighting over who turn it was on Minecraft or Roblox, whatever the case may be. Hey, you rolled up and you pulled up and you got a little too purred. Alcohol hit you. You had to get up from this episode. You know what I mean? In case you missed what I talked about, this is everything that we just went over. I let you know that Wiz Khalifa was sentenced to 9 months in Romania. This is for firing up a joint on stage. Also let you know the Epstein files have been released, heavily redacted, and Chris Tucker was seen in some of the photos standing with a bunch of different white women. Also let you know updates on this David case about him having a incinerator. For what? We don't know. You know what I mean? Also let you know Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua over the weekend on Netflix. I'm sure a lot of you was watching that. I was definitely tuned in as well. You know what I'm saying? But that's everything we went over for episode 343. You know what I mean? Thank you all for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? Because you could have been doing anything you wanted to do in the world, no matter who you was. You know what I'm saying? You could have been a little brother, a little sister. You could have been an older brother, an older sister. You could have been a niece, a nephew, an auntie, an uncle. You know what I'm saying? You could have been a grandpa, grandma, a mother, a father. You could have been cousin Pookie, cousin Man, cousin Pete. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all got pets and your pet is sitting there right along with you, whether your pet is a cat, you have a pet dog, you have a pet gerbil, you have a pet hedgehog, a pet squirrel, you have a pet hyena, a pet pig, a pet alligator, a pet bearded dragon, whoever your pet is. If they got eyes on Kons Podcast, I definitely salute to them. Like you see the homies scrolling up that screen right now. You know what I'm saying? But thank all y'all for tuning in. Thank all y'all for watching the beat you hear creeping up right now. It was definitely made by none other than Infectious Beats, the beat collector. Beats, you know what I mean? So let Infectious holler at y'all with this beat that you hear in the background while these credits roll up with my last minute comments on these topics, you know what I mean? But thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching this episode 343. You know what I'm saying? I will see y'all next episode. I hope y'all have a good Monday.
You hate me, don't you? Make 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 me, don't you?
That they tell me what the fuck they're doing. You understand that?
Make me, don't you? Make me, don't you?